Hey folks, Scully Nomad here, hope you are well and welcome back on board my sailboat. If you're new to the channel, I do a lot of different content, whether it is car camping, which I do have a episode planned over in Rossini, which is the south coast of Wales. I do boat related stuff, I do a lot of car fixing and whatever is going on. So today I'm going to show you how is it that I set up the boat when I arrive here. I was going to cast off and head over to Mermaid Keys because today is New Year's Eve and there's a firework display happening there along with my friends getting drunk. However, it's far too windy for me to get out of this pontoon, which I'll show you in just a minute. And I also made his gourmet burger. So I'll just quickly show you how I did that. But yeah, enjoy the episode. It's been a little while since I've managed to make anything. It's mostly because it's been around Christmas time. I've got a little bit of family issues back at home with my stepdad not being very well. My brother is basically having radiation treatment for his cancer at the moment. So there's a lot of things going on. And of course, my sister just moved her business. It's called Free Trees. I'll leave the Instagram post on there. You can check that out. So they've moved back to their original location, which is like a children's play area. So yeah, let's go and check out the episode. The first thing I do when I arrive is I actually unplug the boat from the shore power, and that's because I'm going to start up the engine. Apparently you're meant to unplug so you're not charging via shore power and the alternator at the same time because you can potentially damage the batteries. Now it's time to open up the gates, so you remove the guardrails by just pulling out the pins, and then I lower the seat. And that gives me easy access to go in and out of the boat. When the gates open, it's time to bring the stuff on board, whatever trinkets and treasure I bring with me. Frustratingly, there was no trolleys this time round, which is the first time it's actually happened to me. And it's a pretty far walk to the car park, especially when you're carrying heavy stuff. I open up the gas locker and switch the gas on, so then I can start cooking when I arrive. I grab the keys and it's time to open up. Hopefully I'm opening it up to a nice clean boat. After all, I did just drive 4 hours to get here today. I keep the fridges open a little bit just so they don't smell when I arrive, and I do leave them switched off. As I'm starting the engine, I need to switch the engine battery on. The engine is located underneath the companionway steps. I open it up and I just do a few simple checks for the engine. Before you switch on the engine, you need to open up the seacock that allows water to go through and keep the engine cool. It's time to go back outside, which is where the control panel for the engine is. First I press the ignition button and then I hold down the switch to heat up the glow plugs for 10 seconds. From there I push start the engine and then it's time to check it out. I keep the engine in neutral but put it to 2000 revs, and then I'd go and check to see if the water's coming out the back to make sure I did actually open up the seacock and there's no blockages. I take a wander around the boat and just double check the lines to make sure there's no chafing. Over the winter we've been hit with lots of high winds and lots of storms, so I don't usually have this many lines on, but sometimes I'm away from the boat for months, and as I live so far away I can't just pop down to check, and it really gives me that peace of mind that everything's okay. I did want to cast off and head over to the festivities with the boat, but there's 2 days of high winds and my spot is very tight. This is the aerial view from Google Earth. To get out I need to obviously go forward. But before I can turn, I basically need to clear both the pontoon on the left side and the boat to the right. As you can see, I'm very close to this boat here. Remember on Google Maps it said that I had about half a meter left. And the way usually I'd go out would be around this way. And I'd go out this way and then down here into the bay. As you can see, you've got the wind direction coming in, which would basically blow me this way. So basically I'd need to get underway to overpower the wind. Otherwise, by the time I kind of let off the tension of the lines and unhook myself, I'd automatically go over here, which means I'll be basically either hitting the boat there or, you know, kind of a bit of a close call. But the moment I pull up and the moment I'd go here, the wind would hit my the side of the hull and start pushing me this way. It's pretty tight here. You see, not much space. The way I do cast off is I put the helm all the way on the opposite side of the pontoon and put the engine in forward, and I leave the lines on. What that does is it forces the boat over onto the pontoon and it pins you on. And then I can start undoing all the lines with the exception of the aft port side one, which is the one that's keeping up the tension. You can see from this angle how the wind is affecting the movement of the boat. At the moment I only have the boat in neutral here, and I just wanted to kind of show you from this angle. With the engine in forward, you can see where I'm being pinned to the left hand side there on the port side of the boat.
and the direction of the wind would be pushing me off the pontoon if I didn't have any power on, which I'll demonstrate that now. So when I flag my arm, I'm going to put it into neutral, and then after a few seconds you can see how much the boat is just being blown straight off the pontoon. The final line I would take off, I would need to have the engine in neutral in order to actually untie it, and so that the boat wouldn't fly off without me on it. I will do a full demo of how I actually do cast off by myself when the boat is actually ready, but you can see how windy it is. I did leave the engine idling at around 2000 RPM while I unloaded the car, and when I came back I just double checked the engine was perfectly fine and closed it up. The next task is to open up the other seacocks on the boat, so I've got quite a few in the toilet area, and what I do is I tend to pump the toilet through. The reason I pump the water through is because water sits in the pipe for a while and it will actually smell a little bit like rotten eggs, and that's because of the bacteria in the water. You can buy a little gizmo that stops that. I tend to give it quite a lot of pumps, and I typically sing the little song in my head of, you know, pump it up, don't you know, pump it up. I can't put the original song on here because I'll get flagged for copyright, but you know what I mean. And this is what I was doing, so just pumping it through, so adding water this way and removing water this way. As the boat's been locked up for a while, I like to open up all of the hatches just to get a bit more airflow through. Of course I open up the blinds and the curtains, that gives it a really nice kind of light inside. If you skipped ahead, it's a Jeanneau Sun Odyssey 40. I do have a full sailboat tour on there, and I'll leave that in the link in the description below. This is my electrical panel, so I switch the things on I want, including the diesel heater. That way you get rid of all the diesel that's just been sat there in the lines. My boat takes about 15 minutes to heat up. I had then checked to see if I got enough water. I did fill up before I left, and I do use water tablets. Now that everything's on the boat, I then switch off the engine because it has been running for about 20 minutes now. It's time to plug back in the boat to the shore power. Check the meter to make sure I've got enough credit on there. With the engine switch off, I need to close the seacock. I did actually have a friend who had weeds growing up through the pipe and it kind of messed up his engine. Now it's time to check the bilge. So sometimes you do get some water in there for like mixture reasons. Most of the time it's the condensation from the hull running down or a leak. It should pump out.
All settled in now. Well, kind of. Need to actually properly pack away. There was no trolleys today, so I've basically had to carry everything in. So my 2 bags here, 2 bags there and there, because I'm going to be going car camping in the week. We're back on board, and once again the storms are brewing and the wind is just picking up and picking up and picking up. Right now it's gusting around 20 knots, but as the evening continues it's going to get a little bit worse, which means I'm going to be leaving the boat here rather than heading off. I did have a little kind of feel of how it was going to go and decided not to. After all, Mermaid Keys is only like 20-30 minutes away. A few of my friends actually went there on their boats yesterday before the weather started changing. In the meantime, I've got some hours to kill, so I'm going to get ready to go out and party. But in the meantime, we're going to line the stomach with one of my beautiful recipes. And so I'll share that with you today. Here we go. You can see why I put the heater on straight away when I arrived, because it gets a bit cold in here. It is winter after all. So I'm going to put that next to one of the diesel heater outlets.
We're going to be making the crispy chicken from scratch, and this is a peri-peri chicken burger. It's pretty easy to make. You don't really need that many ingredients, and I'm using potatoes with soft cheese. The potatoes would take the longest to cook, so chop them into little cubes, boil them for about 10 minutes. Next step is to make these crispy chicken breast. We're going to slice the chicken breast in half, then trim any kind of leftover skin or fat on there. I'm using Pro Cook knives, which are pretty good. For the coating, we're going to use plain flour, Nandos sauce, and cornflakes. The purpose of the plain flour is it enables the sauce to actually stick to the chicken itself. You really want to make sure everything's coated as much as possible. For me, I'm making a burger, but you can just have it without the buns. It's a brilliant recipe, and I'll probably make this using the air fryer when I go car camping next. Step 2 is coating it with the sauce. The sauce that I'm using is a peri-peri sauce made by Nandos, and I went for the medium one just because it was on sale. Usually I go for extra hot. Just like the flour, you want to make sure the sauce is fully covering the chicken breast. This will allow the crushed up cornflakes to stick to the chicken breast. For the crushed up cornflakes, put them in a sandwich bag and crush them up that way, and then pour them over. This will reduce a little bit of the waste, as anything that's coming to contact with raw chicken you won't be able to use again. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it away. Although they look very delicious now, you can't eat them like this, so you need to put them on a baking tray with a little bit of silver foil and a little bit of olive oil. That will help it stop sticking. Into the oven for around 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You can chop them in half to double check if you want to do a double stacker. For the peri peri mayonnaise, which will go as a dip and on the burger. So we're just going to put some mayo. So I'm going to do 2/3 mayo with 1/3 peri peri. And then I'm just going to mix it. One of the challenges that you have when you're cooking in such a small space is kind of organization. As you can see, my meal preparation is there. Underneath there is actually the boat fridge. Now my fridge doesn't work properly, which is why I've brought the fridge freezer with me. But I basically have to juggle everything around. So let me show you what that looks like. A lot of the time I put the chopping board on here, on the steps. If I'm underway, I can't do that. And then this kind of allows me to start kind of putting things back. So I won't need these anymore because I've already made the peri peri mayonnaise. So this will go in here now. There we go. I need the sink for the potatoes. Pour the water down, of course, wash up. I tend to put the chopping boards on the step 2. Need to wipe that down. But yeah, I mean, I do have double sinks. But yeah, so this one can be washed. I need to empty these 2 out of the way before I can do anything else. These can go away. So you just kind of have to shuffle a lot of stuff around. So I'm going to be using them next. I'm going to use these because I'm going, I'll probably make something similar when I go car camping. Let's lock them up. I'm trying to do things with one hand. There we go. They can go in there. Okay. This is going to go in the sandwich box provided. I'm not a fan of Jack Daniel's whiskey itself. I do like the Jack Daniel's honey sauce. When you're cooking, you always want to try and keep the moisture as low as possible. On board, I do have the dehumidifier going, and usually I do open up the hatch, but I was busy filming this. But now that the potatoes are partially cooked, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the water to kind of rinse out the bowl a little bit. This helps preserve water. I have 2 water tanks which I need to refill on the boat, so it's not like I've got unlimited water. I do need to periodically refill the tanks. I heated up some olive oil and let the potatoes steam off a little bit. Now it's time to fry them.
Wash the salad, so I'm going to use a little bit of it for a little garnish. And I'm going to use some balsamic glaze with some olive oil. I've not been able to make videos for a little while. That's just because of being the holidays. I've been working in Birmingham, which is where I am born and raised. One of my parents isn't very well either, so I've been kind of helping out there. And my brother is going through chemotherapy. So I'm kind of like helping out over there. My sister's company also just relocated back to its original spot. So it's called Free Trees. It's like an outdoor children's play area. I'll put her Instagram in the description below. But basically it was called Free Trees because in the center of her play area was these big free trees. Storm came, knocked one of the trees down, and they had to relocate. So they were set up in this farm for a little while. The farm's like a not-for-profit charity kind of set up. So they were just kind of donating to help out there and rent a field. Now they've cleared the woodlands and moved back there. So I've been doing that over like the holidays. I wasn't really expecting to come here for New Year's Eve, but it is what it is. It's why I can't really commit to full-time boat stuff or full-time car stuff. I mean, obviously the car is just kind of fixed as of when it needs to be doing. I am changing the boost pipe on that, so if you're into that kind of fixing type of stuff, you want to subscribe there. Now we're ready to prepare the burgers. So you want your mixed mayonnaise, either on the bottom or the top, whichever you prefer. And then you want your burgers out. I did toast the buns over here, which is why there's a big gap. And you can see they're kind of toasted a little bit. The GoPro froze, obviously, on a vital step that we missed. And then I did make a little insertion just to make sure they were cooked. Yeah, burger goes on.
If the chicken steaks are too long, you can just chop them in half and have a double stack. Now you want to place the lettuce on the burger. Put the lids on.
Buns.
Add your sides onto the plate.
And for the chips, I'm going to use some honey. Then goat's cheese is good on this, but I owe the government some money apparently, because it's never enough. So a few little blobs on.
It was definitely a very unwelcoming surprise getting home to find a bill for £500 in owed taxes. Having in mind in 2 months I've only worked 20 days and most of the gigs that I've been doing have been for minimum wage. Finish it up with a little bit of time and I think we'll call it a day. Thanks for watching, thanks for being fans, like and subscribe and let me know what you want to see.